There is a birthday cake on a table inside a CIA forward operating base in eastern Afghanistan. It was baked for a man whose real name almost no one in the agency has ever spoken out loud. They know him by the codename Jordanian intelligence gave him. They know him by the title he has been quietly given inside Langley over the previous 4 months, the most important asset in the war on terror. They know him as the doctor who has gotten closer to Ayman al-Zawahiri than any Western source in 8 years. It is December 30th, 2009. It is approximately 4:43 in the afternoon. The cake will never be cut. In less than 3 minutes, the people standing around the table will be dead. This is the story of how the most professional counterterrorism agency in the world spent 8 months building its case against the second most wanted man on Earth, and discovered in a single afternoon that the case had been built by him. This is the story of Humam Khalil Abu Mulal al-Balawi, a Jordanian doctor, a jihadist blogger writing under a pseudonym, an informant the Jordanians believed they had broken, a double agent the Americans believed they had inherited, a triple agent committed to al-Qaeda from the first day to the last, who killed 7 CIA officers, a Jordanian intelligence captain, and an Afghan driver in a single sequence that lasted under a minute. It was the deadliest attack against the Central Intelligence Agency since the bombing of the US Embassy in Beirut in 1983. We are going to follow the doctor from a username on a forum to a chair at the right hand of an al-Qaeda commander. We are going to follow the agency from a single intelligence breakthrough to a birthday cake. And we are going to sit with what happened in the half circle outside the debriefing room, and with the question the 7 Americans who died there did not get the chance to ask. Forward Operating Base Chapman sits at the edge of Coast City in southeastern Afghanistan, 15 miles from the Pakistani border. It is named after Sergeant First Class Nathan Chapman, the first American killed in Afghanistan after the United States invaded in 2001. By 2009, Chapman is no longer primarily a military base. It is a CIA platform. The personnel who matter most are not soldiers. They are case officers, analysts, and targeters running one of the most consequential operations of the war, the drone program against al-Qaeda's senior leadership in the Pakistani tribal areas, just on the other side of the mountains. Drones do not fly without intelligence. Intelligence does not arrive without sources. And in late 2009, 8 years after September 11th, sources who can deliver useful information about al-Qaeda's senior leadership are scarcer than they have ever been. The CIA knows where Osama bin Laden is not. It does not know where he is. That is the context in which the doctor arrives. In early 2007, an anonymous user begins posting on a jihadist online forum called Al-Hezbah. The forum is one of the most respected venues in the global jihadist information network. Its content is read closely by al-Qaeda's media wing, by sympathizers across the Arab world, and by the analysts at Western intelligence agencies who monitor extremist communications. The user signs his posts Abu Dujana al-Khorasani. The name is a reference to a companion of the Prophet Muhammad. It is also, deliberately, an allusion to Khorasan, the historical region encompassing parts of Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan that has long held a particular place in jihadist eschatology. His writing is not the writing of a foot soldier. It is articulate, well-read, intellectually serious. He distills the strategic thinking of al-Qaeda's senior leadership into essays that make their arguments accessible to a wider audience. He calls for martyrdom in language that is, by the standards of the genre, almost literary. In one post he wrote, "My words will drink of my blood." By late 2007, he is one of the most read voices on Al-Hesba. He is invited to become an administrator of the site. Western analysts take note of his rising influence. They do not know who he is. They know only that whoever is writing under the name Abu Dujana al-Khorasani has become a problem worth solving. In early 2008, the General Intelligence Directorate of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan solves it. The man behind the username is a 30-year-old physician named Humam Khalil Abu Mulal al-Balawi. He was born in Kuwait to Palestinian parents. He grew up in Jordan. He studied medicine in Istanbul. He came back to work in a refugee camp clinic on the outskirts of Amman, treating the children of displaced Palestinians. He is married. He has 2 daughters. By every external measure, he is a stable, educated, middle-class doctor in a Sunni Arab kingdom that has long been one of America's closest intelligence partners in the region. The kingdom's General Intelligence Directorate, the GID, picks him up in early 2008. The interrogation lasts 3 days. The GID does not need the more visible tools of authoritarian states. It works through pressure that is intimate and bureaucratic at the same time. They tell al-Balawi they know who he is. They tell him they can have his medical license revoked. They tell him they can have him jailed for years on charges his lawyer will never see. They tell him they can make life difficult for his wife, his daughters, his parents. And they tell him there is another way. If he agrees to travel to Pakistan, to make contact with the radical networks operating in the tribal areas, to provide useful intelligence to the GID and, by extension, to the Americans, his slate will be wiped clean. His family will be left alone. The pseudonym will be allowed to die. The doctor will be allowed to live. 3 days later, al-Balawi agrees. The Jordanians believe they have flipped him. They have done this many times before. The methodology is well developed. The success rate is high. In the case of al-Balawi, both governments will eventually conclude, too late, that he had decided to deceive them before the questioning ended. That the 3 days of pressure had not broken him. That what they had taken to be capitulation was the beginning of an operation he would run against them for the next 22 months. In March 2009, al-Balawi flies to Peshawar, Pakistan. His cover story is simple, plausible, and useful. He is a doctor. He has come to volunteer his medical services to the displaced and wounded in the tribal areas along the Afghan border. The cover is so good because most of it is true. He really is a doctor. He really does treat the wounded. The men he stitches and bandages and medicates are foot soldiers in Al-Qaeda and the Pakistani Taliban. For the first months, the intelligence he sends back is competent, useful, and exactly what the Jordanians expect. Names, movements, confirmations of details Western agencies already half know. He proves himself the way new assets are supposed to prove themselves, by producing a steady flow of low-grade information that does not get anyone killed. By the second half of 2009, the Americans have taken over his management directly. He is now the source for the CIA. The Jordanians remain involved through a single liaison, Captain Sharif Ali bin Zaid of the GID, a 34-year-old officer who is also distantly but meaningfully, a cousin of King Abdullah II. And then the intelligence al-Balawi sends back stops being competent and useful. It starts being extraordinary. In the autumn of 2009, al-Balawi sends his handlers a short video. The video shows several men in Pashtun garb sitting together in a room somewhere in the tribal areas. One of them is a slim, dark-bearded figure the analysts at the CIA identify with a degree of certainty that surprises even them. His name is Atiya Abd al-Rahman. He is one of the closest known confidants of Osama bin Laden. He has eluded American intelligence for 8 years. In the foreground of the video, sitting at Atiya's feet, is al-Balawi himself. The agency's senior leadership cannot quite believe what they are looking at. No Western source has gotten this close to al-Qaeda's senior leadership in years, possibly since September 11th itself. The video is not just intelligence. It is proof. It gets better. In follow-up communications, al-Balawi reports he has been treating Ayman al-Zawahiri, bin Laden's chief deputy, the operational mind of al-Qaeda, the second most wanted man on earth. He says Zawahiri has medical problems. He provides a detailed clinical history, cardiac issues, chronic conditions, specific medications, the kind of granular medical information that no fabrication could plausibly invent, and that a doctor who had actually examined the patient would have no trouble producing. The CIA verifies what it can verify. It cannot disprove what it cannot disprove. The case for al-Balawi as the asset of a generation builds, week by week, in cables moving from Coast to Langley to the 7th floor of CIA headquarters in McLean, Virginia. The agency is no longer chasing al-Qaeda's senior leadership at a distance. They have a man inside the room. Stop here for a moment. The man inside the room has, by this point, written publicly for 4 years that he intends to die as a bomber. The agency has read every word. In the 3rd week of December 2009, al-Balawi sends a message that ends the waiting. He tells his handlers he can deliver Ayman al-Zawahiri, or rather, he can deliver the location, the routine, the moment when a drone strike could end the operational career of the man who has helped run al-Qaeda for 2 decades. But he needs to come in. He needs to meet his handlers in person. He needs to share what he knows in a setting where he is not being watched. The agency makes the call. They will bring him to Forward Operating Base Chapman. The chief of base at Chapman is a 45-year-old CIA officer named Jennifer Matthews. She joined the agency in 1989. She has spent most of her career inside the Counterterrorism Center. She was one of the original analysts at the Bin Laden issue station, the cell established years before September 11th, devoted entirely to tracking a single man whose name most of the world had not yet heard. She helped disrupt the 2006 plot to bomb up to 10 transatlantic passenger jets with liquid explosives. She is one of the agency's foremost experts on the structure, leadership, and theology of al-Qaeda. She is also a wife and the mother of 3 children, aged 12, 9, and 6. Her husband and the children are in Virginia. The children believe their mother has been sent on a diplomatic posting. They have been told this. The truth is classified. Coast is Matthews' first extended deployment to a war zone. The plan for December 30th, 2009 is the product of a series of decisions made over the preceding weeks, each of which, on its own, has a defensible logic, and each of which, in combination, removes a layer of protection that has kept CIA officers alive for decades. The decision is made not to subject al-Balawi to a body search at the gate. The reasoning involves cultural sensitivity and the operational priority of not insulting a prized asset on the day he is meant to deliver his biggest secret. The decision is made to wave his vehicle through the perimeter checkpoints rather than stop and inspect. The reasoning involves time and the appearance of trust. The decision is made to gather a large team to receive him: case officers, analysts, contractors, the chief of base herself, the security chief, who under different protocols would not be in the meeting at all. By the morning of December 30th, 2009, the half circle that will greet al-Balawi includes approximately 16 people. Among them are Jennifer Matthews, Captain Sharif Ali bin Zayed, the Jordanian liaison who flew to Coast specifically for this meeting, Elizabeth Hansen, a 30-year-old targeter from Rockford, Illinois, whose work hunting al-Qaeda leadership has put her, before her 30th birthday, on the team responsible for the most wanted list in human history. Scott Robertson, the security chief, a former Atlanta narcotics officer, Harold Brown Jr., a case officer who was once an Army intelligence soldier, Darren Labonte, a CIA officer, and 2 contractors, Dane Parisi, a retired Green Beret with a Bronze Star, and Jeremy Wise, a former Navy SEAL. Inside the debriefing building, on a table, there is a birthday cake. It is 2 days before al-Balawi's 33rd birthday. Someone at the base has decided this is a gesture of welcome. By the time it is placed on the table, the doctor has already finished recording the video the world will see 2 weeks later. At approximately 4:30 in the afternoon, an armored vehicle approaches the inner perimeter of the base. It is being driven by Arg Howan, the Afghan chief of external security at Chapman. He has been sent personally to retrieve al-Balawi from the border. He has been given the identity of the most important visitor the base has ever received. The vehicle passes the first checkpoint. It is waved through. It passes the second checkpoint. It is waved through. It passes the third checkpoint. It is waved through. The car enters the inner zone of the base, the area where the debriefing building stands. The half circle is waiting outside. Some of the officers are smiling. The asset they have spent months running, the asset whose intelligence they have trusted, the asset who is about to deliver Ayman al-Zawahiri, has arrived. The vehicle stops. The rear door opens. Al-Balawi steps out. He is wearing a long, loose-fitting traditional garment. Underneath it, sewn into a vest, is approximately 30 pounds of high explosive, packed with steel ball bearings. The first officer, who notices that one of the doctor's hands is concealed inside his clothing, calls out for him to show his hands. He raises his arm. He is not waving. The detonation tears through the half circle at point-blank range. The blast wave kills almost everyone within 15 feet of al-Balawi instantaneously. The steel ball bearings, the same fragmentation principle used in the suicide vests al-Qaeda has perfected over the previous decade, accelerate outward at lethal velocity, finding the officers who survive the initial pressure wave. Jennifer Matthews dies. Sharif Ali bin Zayed dies. Elizabeth Hansen dies. Scott Robertson dies. Harold Brown Jr. dies. Darren Labonte dies. Dane Parisi dies. Jeremy Wise dies. Argawan, the Afghan driver, dies. 6 other Americans are wounded. The most professional counterterrorism agency in the world has lost more officers in a single event than it has lost since 1983, when 8 CIA personnel died in the bombing of the US Embassy in Beirut. The cake is still on the table inside. In the days that follow, 2 things happen at the same time. The first is the assembly of a public record. The CIA confirms casualties without naming names. The names emerge slowly, through obituaries, through families who decline to keep silent, through the careful disclosures the agency permits when the cover of the deceased no longer protects anyone living. Jennifer Matthews is buried at Arlington National Cemetery, Section 60. Elizabeth Hanson is buried in Rockford and later honored with a star carved into the CIA memorial wall. Robertson, Labonte, Brown, Peresi, Wise. Each is buried in a private ceremony attended, in several cases, by CIA Director Leon Panetta. In Amman, Captain Sharif Ali bin Zayed's body is brought to the royal palace. King Abdullah II of Jordan and Queen Rania attend the funeral of their cousin. The kingdom that had handed al-Balawi to the Americans is now grieving its own. The second thing that happens, while the funerals are still being held, is the release of a video. The video is filmed somewhere in the tribal areas. In the foreground sits Humam al-Balawi, alive, in white robes, the explosive vest of the next few days hidden somewhere off camera. Beside him, casually, sits Hakimullah Mehsud, the new commander of the Pakistani Taliban, who took the position 5 months earlier when his predecessor, Baitullah Mehsud, was killed by an American drone strike. Al-Balawi speaks into the camera. "This attack," he says, "will be the first of revenge operations against the Americans and their drone teams outside the Pakistani borders." He speaks of Baitullah Mehsud by name. He says he will never forget the blood of his leader. He smiles when he says it. Across 4 years of writing, as Abu Dujana al-Khorasani, across the essays, the calls for martyrdom, the line about words drinking blood, he had been telling everyone, in plain sight, exactly who he was. The Jordanians had read the words. The Americans had read the words. They had, in the end, decided the words were a stage that the doctor had grown out of. The words were the only thing about him that had ever been honest. In the months after the attack, an internal CIA review identifies the cascade of decisions that produced December 30th, 2009. There was no body search at the gate. There was no perimeter inspection of the vehicle. There was no compartmentalization of the team that received him. The chief of base, an analyst, not an operations officer, was directing the security posture. For a meeting, the agency's own protocols would normally not have allowed her to direct. The Jordanians had quietly raised concerns about al-Balawi in the weeks before the meeting. Those concerns did not stop the meeting from happening. The CIA does not blame Jennifer Matthews publicly. It does not, at any senior level, blame anyone publicly at all. Procedures are revised. Protocols are tightened. A new generation of officers is trained, in part, on what happened at Chapman. In November 2013, almost 4 years after the attack, an American drone fires 4 missiles at a compound in North Waziristan. Inside is Hakimullah Mehsud, the man who sat next to al-Balawi in the video smiling. The strike kills him. The CIA does not formally claim responsibility. It does not need to. The remaining names on the list, Atiya Abd al-Rahman and Ayman al-Zawahiri, would also be killed in time. Atiya by an American drone strike in 2011. Zawahiri by an American drone strike in Kabul in 2022, 12.5 years after the doctor first promised to deliver him. None of those operations brought back the 7 officers. None of them answered the question that lived underneath the names. how a man whose every word for 4 years had openly anticipated his own death as a bomber became, for 8 months, the most trusted source the agency had. Jennifer Matthews's children were told their mother was on a diplomatic assignment. This was the kind of fiction intelligence families have been writing for as long as intelligence families have existed. It was not, in any deep sense, a lie. The mission Matthews was running in Coast was diplomatic in the way all sustained intelligence operations are eventually diplomatic, built on relationships, on trust, on the calculated decision to take a foreign asset at his word, because the alternative is to take no one's word at all. Al-Balawi understood this. He understood, with the clarity only a true believer ever brings to a role, what the agency wanted to see when they looked at him. He gave it to them in pieces. He gave them the video of Atiyah. He gave them the medical history of Zawahiri. He gave them the quiet promise of bin Laden's deputy on a tray, one debriefing away. The cake on the table was the CIA's way of saying, "We trust you enough to celebrate you." The cake was the proof he had won. There is a wall inside the lobby of CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, made of marble. Carved into it are stars, one for every officer killed in the line of duty. After December 30th, 2009, 7 new stars were added to that wall. Beside each star, in a black-bound book displayed under glass, is a name and a date. For some officers, only the date appears. The name is still classified. Ayman al-Zawahiri is dead. Hakimullah Mesud is dead. Atiyah Abd al-Rahman is dead. Humam al-Balawi is dead. The 7 Americans who stood in the half circle on December 30th, 2009, are also dead. Their children are now adults. The diplomatic assignment ended on a Wednesday at 4:43 in the afternoon in eastern Afghanistan, under a sky one of the wounded officers later described as the clearest he had seen in months. The CIA learned a great deal from December 30th, 2009. It did not learn anything that gave the 7 of them back. If this is the kind of story you came here to find, there are more coming. Subscribe so the next one finds you.